This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, back for another week of discussions on various topics of business. And today's a really important one because we'll talk about health, performance, and business success and how it links together. But before we bring Dave in, for you, mate, everything all right?
Yes, I'm fine. Yeah, just healthy business, healthy body, healthy brain. Be interesting stuff. Yes. I will. I'm always on holiday, but I'm now going somewhere else to go on holiday. Let's put it that way.
Do you find, because you're really old, that you just need to kind of sit around the pool and stuff like that and drink pina coladas, or?
No, when we go on holiday, we never sit by the pool. No.
Where do you go then? What is that?
We're always out and about. We're always trying, rent a car and just get out and about. We look for all the tourists, and then we go in the other direction.
The opposite direction. That sounds familiar. Well, good. Well, let's bring our guest on. We'll bring him on first, then do a quick explanation.
Okay.
I'll let you press the buttons.
All right. And what's this gentleman's name?
So this is Phil Roberton, who is a man of many talents, who we're going to talk about a whole range of topics, but I've known him for quite a few years, so he's an excellent chap to have on.
Okay, great. Well, let's get Phil on then. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever we are.
All of the above. Good afternoon, morning.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, let me kick off by saying, firstly, we've known each other for quite a few years. Phil is in my men's membership called The Network, which I'm helping him, and he doesn't realise, but he's been helping me as well, because we kind of bounce ideas and things off each other. But Phil, give people a quick kind of update on like potted history and what you do and what you're building, because we're going to talk about the importance of the 1% changes for business, but to give them a background of like where you are in life with what you've created.
Well, that's a loaded question. I think I was speaking to someone yesterday. I've been self-employed since 2008, I think. So I've kind of navigated many pivots and kind of done things differently at different times. Almost decades. I'm in my 40s now. I look back and thinking, where was I in my 20s and 30s? And now it's very much a case of purpose is now my alignment. It's very much a case of purpose and future and making an impact. And also balance. As you're getting older, you want to make sure you are balancing family time, your own personal health, money, all the rest of it. So my background was sports science university. I then worked closely with London Marathon. Health and wellness has been my passion forever. We'll touch on other bits, I'm sure, later on. Then from 2008, I started stewarding charity runners within the London Marathon, very much focused on getting runners on the start line of the London Marathon, which I did very successfully, and probably got more runners on the start line than anyone on the planet over the last decade, because I understood what the event is and who people are. It's not a running event; it's a bucket list life coaching event, and it's just a simple game of one foot in front of the other. So it's really understanding who individuals are. I've massively gone down the world of health optimization in the last few years, fascinated in longevity of health. Going back to those chapters of my life in my 20s, it's very much a case of I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time, right? And I think now I want both these things. I want to live a long time, but actually quality of life is really, really important. And I think the cost of living, I think we are living longer, but what is that going to look like unless you've got health, unless you've got money to pay for living longer, So these things are playing on my mind at the moment. So a year and a half ago, my wife and I set up the Hertfordshire Hyperbaric, looking at combining different tech modalities with holistic coaching. So I think nature has the answers to everything. We can go out, we can breathe differently, we can take our shoes and socks off, we can ground, we can eat differently, we can think differently, we can exercise differently. There's various things in our control. But I think we're so dialed into stress. We're so dialed into doing more. It's very hard to slow down. I think there's some very intelligent technology out there which can help do that without you having to think about doing it. So things like hyperbaric oxygen therapy, PMF, red light therapy, we combine a lot of different modalities with the holistic wellness of kind of sleep hygiene, strength and conditioning, or whatever it might be. So it's looking at a 360 approach of longevity of health. And then the big passion project which has come out of nowhere really is the Flawed Hero movement and the Flawed Hero Marathon, of which you've taken part in the last 2 years. So there's a lot of things going on. It's all going in the right direction, and it's for me, I think it's puzzle pieces of my life are starting to fit together now in terms of all the life experiences, which there's been a lot of, and now it's piecing it together into something long-term, impact-driven, and having quality of life.
I love it. And there's multiple conversations to be had here, but let's take you back to the marathon running to start with, because you're right. For a lot of people, it's not just running from here to there. It is because maybe a family member has died of cancer or something, or like you say, a bucket list. What are the main barriers for people getting over the finish line, if that makes sense? Because, is it that their lack of preparedness, or is it mental, or is it a bit of both? What do you see in people?
Brilliant question. And there's 2 lines to cross. It's the start line and finish line. And all I realized was more than 99% of people that cross that start line will cross that finishing line. It's never the problem. It's not the problem. It's the typically 6 months prior to, say, London Marathon, where 25% of people will not make the start line that committed to doing it for various reasons. Actually, there's only 3 reasons. One was they never intelligently started training early enough. So they didn't commit to a process that was maintainable. Secondly, they didn't commit to it. They didn't tell the world that they were locked in and doing it. They didn't set up the fundraising page. This didn't start getting people's hard-earned cash into a pot. When you start building up a fundraising page, when it's a dark night, you've got 2 months of the London Marathon, you're feeling underprepared. You don't want to go out there, and you won't. You'll talk yourself out of doing it. Whereas if you've got hard-earned cash for a cause important to you, you've got no choice. You've got to do it. And thirdly, it's not having someone to speak to. So the third point is you've got to speak to someone as soon as there's a problem, whether it might be a fundraising problem. I cannot fundraise. Go to an events team within a charity. If it's mental, physical, wherever it might be, you need a point of contact. It goes back to the network and why I joined the Whole Man Academy. It's that reason. I think for someone to do a marathon they've never done before, you've got to, as soon as there's a problem, you've got to just go be proactive with that and have that point of call. So that's all I do. I'm a point of contact for anything. And normally people know the answer to things. They just need some validation and a professional to go, it's okay. Yeah. And it's got worse over the years because with social media and this comparison piece of people just compare themselves to what other people are doing. So those across the start line will cross that finishing line. It's as simple as that. And it's understanding that it's not the how that's important. Doing a marathon, it's just one foot in front of the other. It's always been about the why. Why are you doing this? That's the important piece. Why are we doing this? And I think that's why initially is asking the question, why is this important to you? That's it. So it's a lot of it's mental though. Years ago it was kind of overuse injuries and poor education for people, but actually over recent years it's social media. Running. It's every man and the dog has got a running club. Every coffee shop's got it's just the running boom is enormous. The brands are capitalizing on that and are just throwing cash at it because it's very buzzy and very trendy and very sexy and all these things, but it's not really helping people.
Is it responsible to run a marathon?
Oh, great question. 100%. I think we all set our barriers far too low. For me back, I loved the Florida London Marathon years ago. It's when I first worked there. I've got wonderful memories of Sunday morning. I'd probably be hungover, turning on BBC and watching these sunflowers, walking and all. I get captivated by those stories. For me, I've always loved that. But yes, as long as you give yourself a period of time to train. Ultimately, David, I could knock on your door now and do a marathon this afternoon with you. 26.2 miles is an illusion. For me, it's a glass ceiling of somewhere we put ourselves. The fact is, it's one foot in front of the other. You and I can walk it in under 8 hours. London Marathon has a cut-off time. You and I could do it today. It might be a bit discomforting. It might hurt for a period of time, and I'll be in your ear like this, and you'll want to punch me. But the reality is, you could do it, and it's more the case of what else are we capable of. I think now people are doing far more and more. I think it's more unhealthy where people that's become their identity. So you're seeing people doing crazier and crazier challenges getting all this kudos online, and that becomes quite a dangerous thing. It becomes quite addictive because everyone goes, okay, what now? What are you doing now?
Yes.
Instead of saying,
it's like the jackass syndrome when everybody was doing weird stuff.
it gets more identity piece.
But again, is it responsible? I mean, I think to myself, I'm 67. Is it responsible? Am I being responsible? So I've got to go and do a marathon. I mean, I try and walk every day, and sometimes that's too much. Just walking.
But then you framed it. I never said you're running a marathon. I never said you have to run it to do it. They're two different things.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's completing and there's running. And do you know what? Phil's right there. Years ago, I was doing coaching with a lady, as in life coaching. But one of her big things she wanted to achieve was she wanted to do the marathon. And of course, she would say, I need to run the marathon. And she got very fixated on how fast she was going to finish because her sister years ago had finished it in whatever. And I said, well, how fast do you want to finish? And does your sister give a shit what time you finish? And she was like, no, I guess not. I said, so you don't need to run it. No one runs the marathon apart from the elites, okay? Everybody jogs it and a few people walk it and stroll it. And as I know with Phil, I've done the nighttime marathon as it is. So we start at midnight, the morning of the London Marathon, just to really test ourselves. But, some of the people just walked it and they'd finish in, like you say, 8 hours, but they still get the medal the same as everybody. And no one says, oh, 8 hours.
Is there a fixed time then for the marathon that you can do it then?
Eight or 9 hours, and after that you can do it longer than that. They just close the roads, you do it on pavement. So in fairness, and I'd encourage a lot more people to walk a marathon or run it. I think with anything, it's prescription is really important throughout any aspect of your life or any modality. How stressed is your body? And this the important thing is, where are you right now? When is the event? How long have you got to prepare? Where are you right now? What can you commit to? And it's almost like we want to condition ourselves for not training for an event or training for a marathon. We condition ourselves for life as men or whatever people. The byproduct is if we look after ourselves, do the right things daily, we're capable of doing things like a marathon without much of a problem. So I'd never say we are training for a marathon. We're just doing life better. And the byproduct is we're able to do much more than we think we can with people and more purpose driven. So I think it's how you frame it.
But I mean, this is a business show, so let's get on to that. So how are you going to help me then in my business?
Give you some purpose. I think it's giving back. I think it's actually if you can function healthier, if you can look after yourself more, you can live longer and better. I think if you can put the same amount of effort and time into business as your health, you can work harder, work better, and make more of an impact going forward.
So it's a really good point, Dave, because linking it to business, of course, I've literally just written an article about it, but if you're not functioning yourself, your business is probably not going to function as well as it could do because you're not optimal. And the way I look at it with things that Phil works on, we're going to talk about the hyperbaric chamber, for example, in a minute. But things that men and women, but primarily men might be doing is thinking, just go to the gym, do weights, which is great, and try and eat well. But now there's other things that you can do, which probably weren't really available years ago, or they would have cost a shitload of money, that now a man that might have not thought about it could optimize by using these. So Phil, explain, let's take the hyperbaric chamber first and then red light therapy as examples, because I bet that most people have no idea they even exist.
I have no idea. I was going to ask you, I was actually going to interject at the beginning and say, can you explain some of the spaghetti?
So let's start with
spaghetti words that we were getting, because most people who be watching this have no idea what you're talking about, guys. So if we could just go back to just like Jack and Jill explanations, because I think that's also half of the thing as well. We all do it. All the things that we're good at and that we are quick at. Your brain's halfway there explaining it, where you're probably forgetting that half the people don't really know what you're talking about. They're just trying to catch up on the way through. So that's a little bit how I felt in the beginning. It was lots of what they say here in Holland, turbo words. So yeah, please let's go a little bit Jack and Jill. And so take me through a Jack and Jill process then.
Jack, you're right. Okay, so I think Antil's right. There's components of life. We go, we exercise, we train, we work. We then eat differently. We flood it all, go. But actually, there's the recovery piece that we are lacking significantly due to phones, because of stress, being wired in all the time. And it affects everything. You're saying, how does it help your business? But actually, if you're not recovering sufficiently, then there's things that will be going on internally in terms of inflammation, in terms of the stress response, that your quality of life going forward will be compromised. So I went back to it. I think there's some great tech out there, technology, to help with health optimization. So living longer, living better, really importantly. Known as kind of biohacking. So it's kind of the craze is a biohacking culture where you can hack your biology, you can hack your environment to make you perform better, live better. So my first big bit of kit was a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. So it's effectively, you put your body under pressure. You go into a container, it builds up into pressure. So you're in a solid unit. You then go down into, our chamber goes to 1.4 atmospheres, which equates to probably about 13, 14 feet below sea level in terms of pressure. You then breathe in oxygen. And what happens is, normally when you breathe, oxygen attaches itself to blood molecules very, very efficiently. When you put your body under pressure, a lot of the oxygen gets flooded into your blood plasma. So you can essentially supersaturate, fill your blood plasma with oxygen. So you breathe, you can be in the chamber for maybe an hour and a half, and it just floods your system with more oxygen. So
I take it you have to do that under supervision. You just can't go down to, it's not, they haven't got one at your local supermarket. You just go in and put 50.
You say that. Use the really good point, Dave. Like anything, people are jumping on this. So you can get home chambers, you can rent them. But then, like I said a few minutes ago, prescription's really important. You got to know what you're doing and how you're applying it, because what could be beneficial.
Yeah, because I've got lots of money, but I have no sense. So that means I'm going to go and buy one. And then
you coach to help you got, like anything, it's having an expert that understands where are you right now, where do you want to be, let's get you better, let's get you performing better. So oxygen therapy is fantastic. If anything kind of neurological, any long COVIDs of the world, if you've got an area that needs healing quicker, better, it's brilliant for that. Autism, there's loads of really good things that oxygen does for the body. I will then combine that with other technology. So red light therapy, for example, is fantastic for cellular health, for energy, for ATP within your cells, so it can give you more energy. And if you combine those,
to explain to David, for example, when I came to yours, you can get, there's different makes, like Juve is one, and different red light, which is a whole wall of red light, which is warm, and you basically sit in front of it. And I'll let Phil explain what it does, but you can get little ones of it that are the size of a bloody iPad, or you can invest in a wall of it, if that makes sense.
But are we talking about medicine here, gentlemen, or are we talking about quackery?
No, there's research behind a lot of it. There's scientific research to back up a lot of this. You got to be a lot of it's white label. So again, there will be FDA approved practicalities or recommendations of things they can claim, but then there's other things where there is research to show that it does. They're not there yet. So for red light, you're right. There's different wavelengths. So it can be great for skin, or you can penetrate it within your cells. It can help dilate blood vessels, so allow more blood flow to an area. You then can go in an oxygen chamber, flood it with more oxygen, increase healing, increase energy.
And Phil, so let's say, you've now got your own hyperbaric chamber and having it in a gym, which means that people can book to go and use it. And it's been interesting how, in the last year or two, I've found a few more people that have got these, but they're still fairly few and far between. So let's say if you're someone running a business now, probably stressed, maybe worried about the government are trying to fuck you by taxing you to high heaven and, basically just kill you anyway. What would be a couple of things that you would suggest, a man or woman who's running a business, maybe feeling a bit stressed and wants to feel good about themselves so they can implement that into the business? Like a couple of basic things that you think are key.
I think I'll get a good coach on board to kind of look at the team. And I think you're right. Chronic stress is killing people. It's how can we control that? How can we hack our nervous system from a place of, fight or flight, where our sympathetic nervous system is just fried all the time. We get conditioned with that. We become addicted and very, very capable of doing more. And you'll find this. How often do people get sick when they go on holiday? It's where you'll go. It's all right. I'll work hard. I'll go on a flash holiday for a couple of weeks. I know you're going away pretty soon, David. Hopefully this isn't you, but a lot of people get sick when they go on holiday because you're on this stress thing all the time, and you stop and your body goes, oh, that's what it feels like to slow down. And that's often when people get sick. So I think I would get businesses to look at bringing someone on board to advise on even the basics, on breath work, on sleep hygiene, on screen time, all these things. And if they're in a position to invest in their business, I absolutely would. If you can keep people healthy for longer, and actually things like hyperactive chamber, you can hack your nervous system. You can get people in a state of parasympathetic tone without them even thinking about it. So if you can invest in your employees, they're not going to get sick. They are going to be less stressed. They're going to feel good, and they're going to feel energized, and they're going to work harder and better. So it depends on the business. But if I was a business with multiple people, I would certainly invest in it.
It's finding that, when I say extra 1%, but when I worked in the city, we were under stress of various descriptors all the time, because we were sitting in front of screens for 10 hours a day with artificial light, Wi-Fi and stuff all around us, air conditioning, fake lighting, which is so bad for you anyway, because it's flickering all the time. Even in the gym where I am sitting now, I cannot have the main lights on, because Zoom or this will pick up the flashing of the lights, whereas our eyes can't. And I realized then, we'd be out drinking a lot, you'd hardly have much sleep, you'd be stressed, and you wouldn't relax all day because you're working. And that was just the way it is, but that's not the way it should be, if that makes sense. And that's when I was trying to look at guys and say, you probably can't help the fact you're going to sit in front of a screen for hours a day, maybe, but are there things you can do around that, in between that? Even like stand-up desks can be an option to help a guy just, navigate his time at work a bit easier, if that makes sense. David, what do you do? Like, what's your regime for doing a bit of fitness?
Yeah, well, as I say, I try and go for a walk every day, but I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. But I was just thinking about what you were saying. Like, okay, like I can't afford a coach, so I'm listening to this show and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, that's not for me. So what can I do? What can I do with nothing? With nothing in my budget. I've got a small business. I want to look after the people that are working for me. Have you got any tips for that, Phil? Like, hey guys, stand up every 15 minutes or whatever, that sort of stuff. Is there a way to do it without spending too much money? I mean, because a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses, of which the whole world seems to run on, certainly the UK, they just don't have the money for that. They don't have money. The multinationals do, but the smaller businesses, yeah. But any tips for that?
Yeah, well, I think you hit it there. I think walking is the most underrated modality in the world. I think it's the most essential form of exercise and brilliant for your health. I'd encourage companies just to get people off their screens as much as possible. Have dedicated times where you are actually off screens and actually are encouraged to move. Maybe not have lunch desks and things. Just go out and get a change of scenery. I think there are lots of apps out there. If you can focus on breath work, there's loads of free stuff. We're in a world where there's so much information, but if you can teach people how to breathe better, box breathe when they're feeling stressed, or control your nervous system, that'd be awesome. Create content on sleep hygiene, blue light blocking glasses, look at how people are sleeping. It'd be quite easy to put together. I could help you put together information to give to employees. These are the basics you need to do. You need to get off your phone, turn off your Wi-Fi router at night time, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. All these things are really important. How much water are you drinking? Are you hydrated? Or all these things are really, really important. They don't cost any money. It's the educational piece. And I think there's so much out there. It's how can you dumb it down into layman's term? Are you moving? What are you consuming in terms of nutrition, hydration, social media, whatever it might be? What are you consuming? And the big one is who you're hanging around with. Who's your network? Who are you, what purpose have you got in life? And actually, who's your network? These are really important things.
It's rare that we look at a lot of this stuff because most people are kind of just too busy, on the treadmill, regardless if they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And, we're not taught this stuff as we grow up. So it can become alien to people until my frustration is when people end up getting so stressed or ill that then they're forced to make some improvements. And actually, if they'd have done it the little and often prior to that. And when I worked in the city, that's where it's funny, I would realize with some people, even the basics of eating, that a lot of people would be eating, like still eating cereal and stuff in the morning. And I would be eating mackerel or sausages and scrambled eggs. And people would look over and be like, oh, you know, you're going to get fat one day. And you're like, well, no, I'm eating real food and you're just eating cardboard flakes. But they wouldn't understand that that was full of sugar. And they'd wonder why at midday or mid-morning, I should say, they're now reaching for a snack bar or energy bar, which is full of more sugar. Talk to us about just the importance of the nutrition, Phil.
It's super important. You know, we put the right fuels in our cars and our vehicles, and you work hard, you get nice cars. But actually, I don't think we pay enough attention to what quality of food we put in our bodies, and that's a marketing thing as well. You know, every time you go to the supermarket, you're just seeing things flashing up in front of you. You fill up at the petrol station. They're very smart, and I think these marketers are much smarter than our body's own willpower. You know. So I think it's been very, very disciplined. But yeah, it's getting the quality of nutrients in. You know, we need to make sure we are getting quality of food in our bodies. We need to understand what our bodies need.
Yeah, so, but the chips are stacked against us, simply because, you know, anything that is sugary and is processed costs a third of the price of fresh food. You know, and of course people are time poor as well. So they just say, "Oh, I'll just take that. I'll just snack on that. I'll just do this. Just bang that in the microwave. That'll all be tickety boo." So it's all stacked against us. I mean, you can go shopping in a supermarket and buy a week's supply of food, processed food, for half the price if you're buying fresh produce. Now that's mad. That's totally mad. But that's the way that it's stacked against us at the moment. And I just want to roll back a little bit to what you said about networks. Are you saying, I mean, what's a healthy network? I mean, that sounds slightly elitist when you say, oh, I've got a healthy network.
Oh, it's not that. I think it's the people in your life. I think it's the people in your life. I think in my 20s, I look back at different chapters of my life, and it was drinking, going out, or that culture, and that was your identity.
But weren't you supporting them to do that as well? You were equally as guilty. Yeah,
possibly. But at some point in your life, whether it's through your own ill health or what you see around you, you need to change direction, and hopefully we can encourage people to change direction before things happen to themselves or the loved ones around them. So I think when you change direction of your health and your goals and what you want out of it, you got to realize that those people around you will not like it, and that's okay. You got to be willing to outgrow people or have people outgrow you, and it's difficult. It can be a lonely void to fill if that's been your identity.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you touch upon that, because that is part of life's journey. I mean, I have people that you know, really close to through the years, and then you know, something an event will happen, not necessarily, you know, like you have a fight about something, but life events will happen, and it takes you off in a different direction. Then, you know, and as you when you're on that parallel railway line, you know, as you travel, still traveling, and so are they, the space between you gets bigger and bigger. And then at a certain point in time, that click or whatever is just not there anymore.
That's okay. Yes. That can be tough. That can be tough, but that's where I wasn't.
But who do you lean on then? You saying, you know, I mean, that's something. Who tells us that? I mean, I'm hearing it now, but I mean, who told you that that people are going to be with you on a journey and then they're not?
It's really important. A lot of this stuff we're not taught. We're not, and you know, we learn it. That's life. But you're right. Having conversations like this opens eyes a little bit. And if people hear it, oh, that makes sense to me. You know, just change the direction of your life. If you don't like the way things are going, things have to change. You know, and you only have, you know, are these people in your life helping or hindering you? That's it. Are they? Yeah. Is it helping you? You're going through a tough time and come out for some drinks. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's, are you okay? Maybe that's not going to help you. Maybe you need to go home now. Maybe you need to make some better life decisions. You know, what is a good friend? What does that look like? You know.
Yesterday, I was on a call with a lady in Australia who we talked similarly about this issue of when you're making big life upgrades, not everybody is going to be happy about it. You know, you think they would be, but people will either misunderstand you or they'll be jealous because they wish they had the balls to do that stuff. And I explained that over the years, I've had some guys that have reached out to me for, let's say, one-on-one coaching or even just some advice. And you realize, as we know, you can tell them everything they need to do and how they'll solve their problems. and they won't do it because they're just not ready. And they might never be ready, or they might come back a year later. And I've had that where a year later, someone will come back and say, we had a call a year ago and you already helped me, but I didn't do anything with it because of X reason. But now I've realized that I need to sort my fucking life out. And now I'm ready. And I guess, like you said, David, it's the same as it. You can, you can lead a horse to water, but some people will have that life moment where maybe they get a health diagnosis or a cancer thing or something, whatever's going on, and think, fuck it, I need to change. Whereas others will say, oh, it's too hard to change. I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think in many respects, you have to, always people say, oh, you're saying that because you're old or whatever. No, I mean, yeah, there is a benefit to that. I've said on repeated occasions. It's just that there's been because I'm the age I am. That means I've had a lot more water pass under my bridge. And some of it's been nice, clean, refreshing water, and some of it's been full of poo. But it's all been traveling under my bridge through the years.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, one thing I have learned is, is just to throw out as many seeds as you possibly can, because like all gardens, not everything is going to grow. And then sometimes the stuff that does grow is the stuff which is of no value to you. So yeah, it's difficult because like I said,
journey.
I think, it's like you were saying, Anthony. It's just I don't know what it is about people that they don't seem to be happy for anybody else. It's just like, I mean, certainly not in the Western world. I mean, if you go to places like China, where somebody sees somebody who's richer than they are, then they accept that. They say, okay, he's rich. That's his destiny. So he's had all his luck because he's rich. So that means now that must be some luck left over for me, and now my life will be richer, and not necessarily in money, but just in the way that you look at it. But in the West, it's all about, but he's got it and I haven't.
I think playing the victim's a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to touch on, when I say ice baths, I want to talk about cold water immersion, because it's funny how people often demonize it online because they think people are saying everybody should have cold showers or what have you in the morning. And I believe that it depends whether you find it helpful or not. But often the problem is people think that they need to go and plunge into an icy, bath straight away. And we know that can really shock the system in a bad way because it stresses you out. So give us your take on, I've been to Phil's house. I've been in the ice bath, which is about 6 degrees. And it was fresh, but you wouldn't just jump in and expect not to have some reaction to it.
Yeah, it's so buzzy now. I think with Wim Hof and kind of the Iceman, it's very, very popular. All the gyms are now doing very insta-happy sauna plunges. Like I said before, it's how you apply it. They're all modalities, and it's why you're doing this practice, how are you doing it, and for what outcome. So I went down the deep dive, as it were, into kind of cold water immersion over the last kind of year and a half to understand it. I think for me, it's putting your body under a place of stress and seeing how it reacts. And if you can control stress and your body's ability to breathe through things and let go, you can then, and that's in a controlled environment, you can then do stress better away from it. You can do life better, stress, if you can let go within an ice bath. So I'll often get people in there and not tell them anything. I want to observe how they're going to get in their swimming costume and go into water, because how they often react is how they'll do stress away from an ice bath. And if you can then get them jumping out.
Yeah, you also have to be careful with that as well, because him himself has had issues with that in the past, that people have just jumped into cold things and had had mild heart attacks, etc., etc. And one of the things that he did say was, if that's something that you want to go down that road, then start off every day under your shower, just like 30 seconds or a minute, and then build it up that way. Just don't go and see the largest, tub full of ice and jump in it, because that can happen.
You don't need the ice, and the temperature, it doesn't need to be that cold. And also, women and men, it's slightly different. And then ladies, time of the month, the hormonal response has got to be different as well. So it's how you apply it. And I think It's almost like, I remember my grandma, if you're stressed or you're upset, go and put some cold water on your face. Essentially, that's what you're doing. You don't even need to jump in an ice bath. Just stick your face in a bucket of water if you can. If you can just cool down the back of your neck and your face, you're going to activate that vagus nerve. You're going to hack your nervous system and you're going to de-stress. So there's different ways of doing it. That is a great way of doing things. If you are interested in understanding cold water immersion, proceed with a lot of caution and understand, they'll talk about kind of brown fat oxidation. They'll talk about immunity benefits of cold water. For me, it's about the breath work. It's about surrendering and letting go and staying calm in chaos. How can you do stress better? If you can control stress in a very uncomfortable ice bath, you can then control yourself to do stress better in a business environment or conversations and things.
So you're not suggesting then that when the quarterly figures are pretty SH1T, that your manager comes in and empties a bucket of ice cold water over your head?
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying you do, definitely. At your desk.
At your desk, yeah. Just saying, look, this is my way of helping you de-stress with the circumstances.
Yeah, well, Phil and I, we won't explain the story, but we've seen what it's like when someone is shocked by getting in an ice bath and not realizing how cold it would be, which was one of the funniest things I will ever see. And one of my great regrets in life is we didn't have it on camera, because the guy got in thinking, oh, I have cold showers now and again, but nothing prepares you for getting in a really cold, very cold ice bath. But I just wanted to talk, because your evolution of Phil, the businessman, has gone from now running a growing brand and a movement and arranging a very large nighttime event for over 100 competitors in a race, which is fucking hard. People don't realize how hard it is to get people to come to events, pay to be part of events, and to organize it when there's lots of people. Tell us what that kind of journey has been like, because we know it's not easy getting bums on seats, money exchanging hands for people to turn up.
No, it's tough. So I mentioned my involvement with the London Marathon years ago, which I loved. Back in 2005, maybe 32,000 people would do the marathon. Now 57,000 people ran it this year. And Dave, you said at the start, is it dangerous? I would question if 57, where are these people fitting on a course? And yeah, I think at some point it's got to stop. These running brands have got to stop it a little bit. I understand business and money, and something like the London Marathon is a business and they want more people on there, more bigger brands. But for me, it's taken away the magic of the London Marathon. So I created the Flawed Hero Marathon, same day of the London Marathon. It's the people's marathon. We have it done before they've started their race. And it doesn't matter we've got Jack with cerebral palsy. He's done it twice in a year now. He's coming back next year. We had Adam with stage 4 cancer take part. We had a vet who's got chronic arthritis. She did it in a mobility scooter. So she'd go around, and then when it ran out of juice, she'll plug it in the pub, charge it up, hobble off. Then we had some just incredible people, and it's just a night of perspective. But I'm doing things slightly differently. I do know the dark side of kind of London Marathon business, and I think I've got a higher entry point because I want to make sure people are committed to the process of turning up to Letchworth, a town they've never been to, at midnight to do 26.2 miles. And everyone has to fundraise. Everyone has to fundraise. We just, as a collective, we raised about £80,000 this year. And that's it. My take is, it doesn't matter what our backstories are, what size, shape, color, story, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a night of we're all the same. We're all the same. We all have our stresses. We all have our backgrounds, but collectively we can be so much more. But it's been tough. I mean, we had about 100 people this year. I'm aiming for 300 people next year. Looking to raise £250,000, supporting prostate cancer UK and a local hospice to us. It's tough. It's really, really hard. But it's worth it. It gets me, because I wake up in the morning going excited for it, because it's for me, it's a bit of a legacy piece. I know I'm making an impact positively to people's lives and the lives of others through fundraising. And that's what
David will be pleased now. I've signed him up for next year's race. Fantastic. And it starts at midnight, and basically you do the marathon around the streets of Letchworth. But one thing that links to with people watching this who run businesses is about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like, I've done the race twice. I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it because everything was good about it until, from about mile 18, and it's dark and there's no one fucking waving you on. There's no London sights to see, and it becomes a mental challenge. And it was cold as well.
Yeah, well,
But when I finished,
I've been to Lichfield in daylight. It's the same problem.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the point is here, it's about challenging yourself. And if you're in business and things are going well, then start challenging yourself to see what can come up for you. If business isn't going well or it's flatlining, maybe you look externally and think, what can you do with your team to galvanize the team, as it were, if that makes sense. Like, do something different whilst you're there. So that for me is one of those really important things. Getting outside your comfort zone, you learn a lot about yourself and teams. And talking of teams, Phil was one of the first people to join the network, which is my men's membership when I launched it. Why did you join, Phil? What was it that you felt you were missing and that you needed and the group could give you?
I think my life, again, it was a slight 2-degree direction of my life, my ship. And we talked about kind of, I needed to make a few little changes, and I was going in a direction which was leaving maybe some of the past in the past and people, my network previous. And it was, what you were saying was just resonating with me. It was like having support structure where actually I wish I had this years ago, and going forward because of this, I wish I could go back to times in my life where I needed me or needed that, I wish I could go back to a version of myself aged 25 or this very particular moments in my life where I could put my arm around myself and go, it's going to be okay. Let's do, if we can grow that, if we can be, that helps. It's more the fact that no judgment. It's just you go there, you talk, you celebrate, you genuinely celebrate people's wins. Every single person in there, I get really excited for. I'm watching them grow. I'm watching them share stories about their personal life, their business life, their struggles, and we're there to support when people just need an ear. That's great. Or we're there to celebrate when people are doing great things, and that's what it should be like. We're there to just help people genuinely, without motive, without wanting something in return. We're there just to support each other.
Yeah. And it's David knows this as well, but as we grow up and grow as men, it can be hard to find people to just talk to about how we even when David and I first joined the call before we start the podcast, we have a quick chat, but some people lack that. And also in this day and age where the world feels so very divided and deliberately divided, you can meet people and find they've got totally different views to you on COVID, vaccines, politics, climate change, all the different fucking things that they'd love to divide people on. Therefore, for me, it's even more important to find the right kind of people to hang around with. And I know you and I, and maybe everybody here in life, has had someone that they either know or extended that have ended up deciding to take their own life. And I know there was a guy in the Flawed Hero Marathon the year before that was a great guy and decided he would check out on life. And this is a reminder for people that, getting out of your comfort zone to go and connect with the right people can be life-changing. They don't have to pour out all your woes to them, but having people, in your team, on your shoulder, by your side, can help you, especially if you're going through a dark time. David, thoughts on that?
Yes, I lost a business partner through not having anybody to speak to. So we know what that's all about.
When was that?
Well, a while ago. But that never leaves you. But what can we say? It's interesting, really, because like the guy who just got assassinated in the US, that's what Charlie Kirk, I think his name was. As much as you like or dislike or agree or disagree with his politics, he always put himself. He put discussion first. He wanted to discuss with everybody, and that's the thing. And I think that's really important. That who you touched upon it as well, Andy, a little bit. It doesn't make any difference if you agree with me or not. I want to be able to respect you for the argument that you put forward.
Yeah.
And I hope that you get that respect in return. I like blue, but you like red. What are we going to do? Start a war about it? Yeah, there's enough people who've already done that.
Yeah.
But you have to agree to disagree, and I think that you can only disagree with people if you enter into debate with them, talk to each other, find out what's happening in their lives, and you can either contribute towards it or not, depending on the circumstances. But yeah, this we are getting more and more divided. So any opportunity you have to get together, whether or not you share the same trainers as the guy running next to you in the marathon, you've got something there's always something to talk about. But
And that's,
you have to be open to do it.
That's where, Phil, with running, that people find it therapy as much as, it's not necessarily exercise, it's exercise for the mind.
Yeah, well, there is a school of thought that says these are people who are fundamentally always running away from stuff.
That's true. Some of the I know a lot of ultra endurance athletes, and I've seen that a lot over the years. It's the running away. Actually, I was with the guy on Wednesday, and he's 100 kilograms. Him and his friend, they ran from John O'Groats to Land's End in 21 days. So they did ultra every day for 21 days.
So how many miles is that roughly, Phil? Like in total?
That's a lot. I can't remember. You catch me there. It's a lot. They were doing like 60, 70, 80K a day. It's a lot. Yeah. And he was saying to me, he said he's running away from demons, but then running towards demons as well. And it's really interesting because he went through a lot. I spoke to him on Wednesday, and it's really interesting how he's running away from stuff, definitely, but he actually had some therapy. Because when you break your body down like that, there's nowhere for you to go. And if you're running for hours and hours and hours by yourself, you're not on your phone, you're not distracted. At some point, you're going to have that conversation with yourself. But I think, running's so accessible. There's a lot I like about it. There's a lot I don't like about it now. It's the best form of therapy, and that's what I loved a little bit about the London Marathon. It's the biggest single day fundraising event, but it's the biggest single day therapy session you'll ever be a part of. And I've done it numerous times. And when I've been very fortunate to be at the Mall watching people finish for many, many years. So I've been at the grandstand watching people, and you can see people change. They run that last 100, 200 meters, and you can see their bodies change because they're hobbling, they're a mess, and suddenly they look up and they'll see the finish line. Something they've obsessed about for many, many months. They've fundraised. They might have raised money for a lost loved one from bowel cancer. It could be a child with cancer. It could be all this purpose comes out, and actually they look up and they realize they've done it, and they stand taller. They realize they're capable of much more than they thought they were doing, and that's the real gift. And I think they crossed that finishing line, and I wish I could tell more people to use that finishing line as the start line of something else, of what is next. What else am I capable of doing? But sadly, they don't. Across that finishing line, have the highest of highs, because what a day. But then what comes up must come down. And then you get that post-event grief thing. You get that void of, I want to feel like that again. So you get that very low moment as well. So that's what's very different to my event. You don't get that post-event blues. It was like, what on earth just happened? You don't need the crowds. I've got all these people around me who I've never met before. They've all different backgrounds, different stories, but we've done something together. We're there for each other, and that's all I needed. And instead of having, that external validation of 500,000 people clapping and cheering you on, when it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, pitch black cold in Letchworth, it has to come from within. It's that self-worth piece that comes out rather than that external validation. If you don't get post-event blues, you get more. Does that make sense? It's different?
Yeah. Well, it's a good one to finish on, I think, because it's a good reminder for people. If you're gonna live a life that you test yourself, go and find something. Go and sign up to an event or whatever, and then see what's possible. And you might make some friends along the way, and maybe lose some weight as well, which is always nice. But well, Phil, I appreciate you coming on, brother. I mean, I love you. I've known you for quite a while now, and it's been great to see your movement grow and be part of it, and also contribute. I think maybe eight members of the network of the men all ran it, walked it, staggered it this year, and next year it should go from strength to strength, basically. So we'll perhaps we'll get you back on at another point. We'll talk. There's various other rabbit holes and angles you want to go down. So it's always an open invitation to come back on, brother.
I really appreciate that. Enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's come back on and let's just, as I say, just it's very broad, this one. I think it's people like me who've still got lots of questions. So yeah, come back and maybe just pick one channel to go down and dig deep into that. Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure, Phil. Thank you so much for being on. And
let's run.
Yeah. Well, I was going to actually go to do something slightly less entertaining. We need to run. We need to run our gifting first. So thank you very much, Bill. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Steve from 2OF Entertainment. We have a friend of ours that does candles, and you've seen her be interviewed. Her husband is being overwhelmed with medical bills because he has stage 4 cancer. And since she's part of the 2OF family, she has started a GoFundMe page. And what we'd like to do is say, if you can find it in your heart, if you can give them a few dollars, that would be great to help them with his cancer fight. Please join us in showing them love and the support that the 2OF family likes to show people who have been on the show. And once again, thank you very much.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
Well, where do we start with Lost and Found? Would you like me to go first? I know you like to.
Yes. We always like to,
You like to finish last, David.
Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah. Mostly on my school reports.
Let's bring this up now. This is, I've already posted it as a lost dollar. So some of you listening will know who Ocado is, others wouldn't, but they basically, deliver food you buy online, and also they build, and I call it, big robot warehouses to help other supermarkets send out shopping. But brilliantly, their shares plunged, the last time I'm checking, 11.6%, which is fucking massive. Let's be honest. You often see things where it's a few percent up and down, which is bad. But it resulted because of US grocery partner Kroger said it will rethink its warehouse investments tied to Ocado's tech. And, so what, some people would say. Why it's big, investors have counted on these automation warehouse deals to drive future profits. And of course, when there's any negativity or, unsureness about that shakes confidence, if that makes sense. And what that did as the signal, it spooked the market and creating that share price plunge, which, for a lot of people will be painful if they're shareholders. And the last point here is it reflects how reliant businesses are on partners and contracts beyond their control. And interesting, the last few weeks, I've been speaking to 2 different people who own businesses who are basically nothing without the large contracts that they've got. And if those contracts stop, dry up, or get rethought, renegotiated, their company is fucked, to be honest. So it's an interesting one if you've got a business to think, look at my biggest contracts. If I lost that, have I still got a business? Give it a David.
Yeah, definitely.
Have some of that.
Have some of that, yeah.
David, what have you got for me, brother?
Well, there's a lot happening at the moment in the world we live in. And there's a lot of companies that are being hacked, for ransomware. And yeah, it's costing people a lot of money, and a lot of business. I think currently at the moment, as we speak, Land Rover, they're still having problems. Marks and Sparks in the UK had problems. Loads of banks, etc., although the banks don't always tell us that they're having problems. But there's a slightly quirky side to that. So let's have a look at this. So I don't know if it's lost or found. You can tell me at the end of it. What's happened is that Dutch students are hacking these smart washing machines. So they have from the student organization, which is responsible for the dormitories and student accommodation, and they also run all the laundry aspects of it. And some of these very clever students have thought to themselves, you know what, they're smart washing machines. Let's hack them. So they hacked them so that everybody could wash for free.
Great.
Happy days. Only the people who ran them thought, well, we can't have any of that. So what they did is they then closed all of the washing facilities down in all their different locations. So there's loads of people who couldn't, clean their clothes or anything, all because of this hack. And the excuse was, but this is the thin end of the proverbial wedge, because if they found out how to hack the washing machines, they could be hacking us as well.
Where does it stop?
Where does it stop? Yeah, where does it stop? So on the one side, slightly tongue in cheek, you have to take your hat off to the students who managed to do it. But they've resulted now in saying, well, we're not going to have any more smart washing machines.
Good.
Because it's just back to
that they haven't blamed Russian hackers for this, which is usually in the Western media, or especially the UK. If anything ever happens for cyber, anything's down, they always blame Russian hackers, which is kind of a stock funny response these days. So maybe it is.
Could be Russian hackers, could be North Korean hackers who don't want students to wash their clothes. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's it made me chuckle. But I don't own that facility. If I owned that facility, I'd be well miffed probably.
Well, you know what?
But if I was a student, I'd be thinking happy days.
If things like that can be hacked, then you tell me that electric cars can't be hacked as well.
Well, they can quite easily. Yeah.
And therefore, when everybody, and I understand why some people think electric cars are great, which is fine. They have their place in the world. But of course, as and when everybody's forced to have electric cars because supposedly they're going to save the world, therefore, if you've been a naughty boy and your social credit score is very low, you'll have your universal basic income tethered to it as well. That if you've been disclosing, or you've been criticizing the government or something like that, then maybe they'll stop your car from going too far as well. So
or maybe they'll stop you washing your clothes.
Yeah, yeah. You see, it has far-reaching problems. Basically,
you see, yeah. So, what do you think? Is that a found dollar for those students, or a lost dollar for the organisation who's scared about the ramifications of this becoming spiraling out of control? What do you think, Anthony?
Answers on a postcard.
Yeah. You're not going to give me a yay or a nay on that one.
Well, I think for most people, they'll have made their mind up already. And anything that has smart at the start of it for me is a threat. Basically, that's always, out over in the UK, they're insistent on putting smart meters in for your energy and your water.
Yeah,
but of course,
we have them here as well.
Yeah,
most people have them now.
That's the problem, is that when they're linked to stuff, they can be controlled at some point. So, but it's all okay. They're just flattening the curve, so don't worry.
Yeah. Well, for me, I just think to myself, well, is this not an indication of how well taught these students are in IT? So for me, it's definitely a found dollar.
And this is your last lost and found business schnizzle for a couple of weeks. So you're off to sun your bumhole and
Yeah. We're off. Not so much for me that needed the rest, but for my partner, she's been mega busy with a project, and just keeps coming and coming and coming. But now her holiday was booked, so she's off.
Well, I hope you have a lovely time, and I have one or two. I'm not sure who's on next week, so I have 2 or 3 various ones that I can bring on, depending on whose availability. So it will be someone interesting, no matter what happens. And I'll coming back on in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I would just like to tell everybody as well that the Lost Dollar Business Club has taken a slightly different trajectory going forward, because we've now gone back to our original status of being a club where we have people come in who are all in business themselves. Everybody that is joining us as a guest is self-employed, or they work for other organizations. So we're just trying to open the club up and and offer really what Anthony offers for the whole Man Academy, but then we'll do this via the internet as well. So thank you everybody for listening, and thank you Anthony again, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.